This is Vivica Williams, and you're watching Head to Head. Oleg Sentsov has been on a hunger strike in a Russian prison for almost 90 days now, and he says he's not going to stop until Moscow fulfills his demands and releases all Ukrainian political prisoners. But his health has deteriorated drastically. So what can be done and must be done to save his life? To talk more about this, we're in the studio today with Mariya Tomak, coordinator at Media Initiative for Human Rights. Thank you, Mariya, for being with us today.
Thank you. Hello.
Can you tell us some about how your organization is working and what you have, what status you work with to help or to look into the situation with Oleg Sentsov?
I can say that our organization is a part of such an informal coalition of Ukrainian NGOs, which are trying to provide assistance to those whom we call political prisoners and those Ukrainian citizens who are held illegally in occupied Crimea and in Russian Federation. So we're just trying to share all the problems and goals and tasks in the context of this problem. As for Oleg Sentsov, we are trying to be in touch with the family, with the lawyers, and trying to react and to help with what we can do. For instance, we're participating in and helping to organize in some of the peaceful assemblies to support Oleg Sentsov, but of course, I don't think that some peaceful assemblies can help in this situation. I think that in current situation, and we're repeating this idea all the time, starting from January of this year, when we issued a report concerning those ways which can be used to help to our political prisoners, I believe that the only way to help to Oleg Sentsov in particular is to find an effective negotiator who can talk directly to Putin. No other ways, as I believe, can be effective in this situation.
Mm-hmm. And how would you describe then the Ukrainian media coverage of Oleg Sentsov's hunger strike and everything that goes with it?
I think that Ukrainian media demonstrate great solidarity, and even, these commercial, whole national TV channels, which are usually not sensitive to human rights issues, are very active. Partly it's because Sentsov, it's a kind of person from their circle. He is like a filmmaker, he's a media person, and he has lots of friends in this area. I think that's one of the reasons why they are so much supportive of Oleg Sentsov. But of course, now when 3 months ago, when he started his hunger strike, this support became much more significant. And now I have no I can't say that Ukrainian media does not support Sentsov. They do, as well as international media. We know that all the leading newspapers and media published lots of reports or blogs in support of Oleg Sentsov, and we're grateful for that. But unfortunately, as we can see, it's important for the background, for the support of this topic of Sentsov's release, but that does not make immediately Putin to release him.
Oh, absolutely. And this is a major issue. This has been one of the things of how to address this, and the best way, and what's been going on so far hasn't been effective in getting political prisoners released. And you said that there needs to be this negotiator that needs to, who would you see in this position, or what type of person do you think would be someone that Vladimir Putin would respect?
I can bring an example, because now we're trying to reach, for instance, Oliver Stone, who is a famous film director who made I would say, a glorifying film about Putin.
Yes.
And I believe he has a direct connection with his office, with Kremlin. So I think that it's one of the candidates to be reached and to ask him to apply to Putin with this proposal or demand, or I don't know. But it relates to this, I would say, a professional Oleg's circles. But of course, I think that according to the experience of releasing of Ahtem Chigos and Ilmi Umerov, they were released due to the efforts of Erdogan, Turkish president. And I think that Ukrainian government could also look for this kind of negotiators. Maybe they do, but I'm not informed of any of such efforts, unfortunately. Maybe they try to address someone, but of course, back to if we go back to the events of a few months ago, we know that Angela Merkel tried to raise this issue while negotiating with Putin, and also Emmanuel Macron, French president, but they did not succeed. I have a suspicion that they were not, they did not insist on this issue. That's why it did not work out. And also, we're not sure whether Donald Trump tried to talk with Putin.
We have no idea really what went on in that conversation.
We have no idea about anything they were discussing primarily. So maybe they did discuss Sentsov. But anyway, Sentsov is still imprisoned, and he is between life and death. And now I think any efforts are important in terms of trying to perceive Putin to release him. And I think, I think that this event may be very like a key event for Russia and for Russian development in the nearest time. Because there were lots of events in the recent Russian history when Putin and Kremlin crossed the lines, many red lines, like in Ukraine, in Crimea, in Donbass, in Syria. But if they allow Sentsov to die, if they basically kill Sentsov, I believe that Russian society will wake up in a different country on the next day, and it will make Russian regime even more tough than it's now. If they allow it, that would mean that Russia will become even more tough.
Well, let's talk about Sentsov's condition. And what could you say some of the real facts and what's some speculation? Because I think it's been difficult to get current photos or video of him. Is that correct?
Yes, sure. I would say that I trust and I believe only in those information which is provided by his lawyer, Dmitry Dinze, who attends him from time to time, twice a week. And also, just yesterday, he transferred a letter from Oleg Sentsov to his sister, Natalia Kaplan.
But aren't we seeing any, we hear his words through letters, but photos, video?
Just 1 hour ago, I mean, some time ago, Lyudmila Denisova, Ukrainian ombudsman, she published some photos which she got from Russian prison administration.
But unfortunately, we don't know when these photos were taken.
For sure, I was planning to say that we cannot verify them from one hand, but on the other hand, his lawyer Dmitry Dinze, who have seen him a few days ago, he can say at least if this condition is real or not. But even if these photos were made today, I can say that Sentsov looks awful. I mean, he's very he's in a very yes.
The problem is without for the Russian prison system, it's very beneficial for them not to release extensive video or to allow extensive video which will show his condition and allow people to really be able to picture this, because it continues to give the idea that maybe he's not so well. We are listening to people's words, and it seems that it works so well for them in this case, in some ways.
Yes, probably. So that's why we have to verify every information. Luckily, we have this chance because at least one independent person, Dinze, has an access to Oleg. So we can verify basically almost all the information except of probably the medical one, because his lawyer, he is not like a professional doctor, so he cannot make any like expertise or something like this. But and as we know, independent doctors were not allowed to get an access to him.
Not be allowed. Yes.
Yes. So, and unfortunately, as for the reaction of European Court for Human Rights, I think that, and this idea was like said by many people, but I have to agree that we have 4 years of Sentsov's case being like under the review of European Court for Human Rights, and they gave a priority status to his
special measures, demanding Russia meet special measures in this extreme case.
But it relates to this 39 rule. But I mean the main case of Sentsov, which was applied back to 4 years ago when he was imprisoned, when he got his sentence. So I think that the European Court should be in a hurry, because they gave to his case a priority status, but they did not even now until now gave the
special
result.
Measures.
So
they've still yet to rule on it, to really act on what they call the priority.
Yes, I mean, if they now, because, you know, if you look at the arguments of Putin, he's all the time saying that Sentsov is a terrorist. When even like people who are very close to Putin, I mean Mikhalkov, for instance, Russian filmmaker, very famous, he was trying to persuade Putin to release Sentsov. He was telling all the time that he is a terrorist. He's replying to Macron that Sentsov is a terrorist. Maybe he is a fellow. So,
but he also really focuses on, well, the judicial system is independent and my hands are tied.
Yes, exactly.
Which is not
if European Court for Human Rights now can say that he is not a terrorist because his right to a fair trial was not fulfilled, that would make Putin, you know, that
would put him in a position where he'd have to act to keep face.
He cannot say anymore that he is a terrorist, because the European Court, but Russia is a part of European Council and is a part of European Court for Human Rights, and anyways they have to. Of course, we know that Russia can ignore the decisions of European Court for Human Rights, but at least Macron would have an argument that, sorry, Mr. Putin, but European Court for Human Rights said that his right to a fair trial was not fulfilled, so he cannot be called a terrorist anymore. So I think that it would be important to get this decision of European Court for Human Rights, but unfortunately we still don't have it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to hope at this today. We know that Sentsov's mother put in, pled with Vladimir Putin to release her son, and I think the next few days are going to be very critical. And not just the next few days. For however long he remains in prison, we know he will continue his hunger strike unless forced by the Russian medical system to do otherwise. So,
I have to say that it's not the first statement from his mother. She already applied to Kremlin with an ask to release her son, and just formally, Putin can do this. I mean, he has all the factors which allow him to release. But he is not doing this, obviously. He has his own reasons for that. But also I would like to say about the general problem, because as we all know, Sentsov is on hunger strike, not for himself, but for the other political prisoners. And it's important to say that in the current situation, we don't even have the very clear list of these people. And I believe it's a problem of, I mean, we have no law on illegally detained Ukrainians during the conflict, during the Russian aggression. And I think it's a core problem, because these people are not provided with the status of illegally detained personalities. I mean, not only those who are held in Crimea and in Russia, but also those who are held in so-called LPR and DPR. They also have no legal status, and they have some social guarantees which are related to this status, and they have no like rights or any guarantees related to the rehabilitation, which they have to be provided after the release. So I think it's a great problem, because now these people are a part of some political statements, some political probably games even, but they have no legal, in terms of Ukrainian legislation, they're not existing.
And so
that is very important.
And this will have to be one of the next steps, which it seems they are addressed in some ways, but not fully. Thank you so much for being with us, and hopefully we'll be able to have you back on and we can have more discussions about political prisoners in general. Thank you so much. And that was Mariya Tomak, coordinator at Media Initiative for Human Rights. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned with UATV for more.